It's like a church in here now.
I know. Dun, dun, dun.
We need a processional hymn, since I'm Catholic, you know.
I used to be.
So did I.
And you said you were. Oh, that were is past tense. What?
Yeah.
Could see into your heart, then would I know just where to start, 'cause I'm lost and I need to be found, crazy as it sounds. I need you around. If I could stand to be on my own, then I would probably just leave you alone. But I'm gonna feel this way till I'm 6 feet underground, crazy as it sounds. I need you around. Turning, tossing and turning, my love is burning me down. If I could change one thing in this world, I'd change your mind, and I'd be your girl, because I'm lost and I need to be found, crazy as it sounds. I need you around. 'Cause I'm gonna feel this way till I'm 6 feet underground, crazy as it sounds. I need you around. I need you around. I need you around. I need you around. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Cafe Aloha Gallery, Radio Cafe Gallery, Radio Gallery, Hello. It was great to see everyone. How are you all doing? I'm like, we have to start. We're all just like, it's really freaking cold. And he was noticing this. We're watching the Weather Channel. And oh wait, give it up once more for John. Yeah. We were watching the Weather Channel because he's about to go to work. And he's like, yeah, I noticed this now. They're talking about it's the coldest winter ever, and guess what? All this really cold winter is going through the Midwest, and look what it's going to do to the East Coast. Look at how it's going to affect New York. Look at how it's going to affect Rhode Island. Look at how it's going to affect. I'm like, yeah, I know. They just ignore us because we're in the Midwest, and who cares, right? Yeah, but it's very true. So hi, how is everybody doing? I'm all in my little song. I think he was turning around looking at me laughing because I just started jumping around with the song. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So, exactly. Like a little monster. Might as well jump around, right? Thank you, John. I figure I've got to get him in to play guitar whenever I can. It was a good way to start off the open mic instead of introducing, well, we're going to do a song. I don't know. But before I get my first open mic, I was looking for something really insanely old to read. And I have no idea how this is going to go, but this is something that was done as a test in a poetry class decades ago. And this is how to scramble an egg. First, you have to get an egg. Make sure that it's in good condition because the shell should be intact. Sometimes, if the inside of the egg is exposed, it may carry diseases. When you find the perfect specimen, crack the egg. This is usually done with a blunt, hard object, although a variety of methods are quite acceptable. An egg can be cracked with a quick jab of force, or the procedure could be done slowly, gently, and methodically, depending on your preference. When the egg is cracked, slowly spread apart the shell and let what is inside the egg fall into the frying pan. If you find it necessary, it is quite a common practice to add milk or butter for moisture or lubrication for better consistency. Some say it's easier to work it that way, but if you need to, go right on ahead. And if that adds a better taste, well, go right on ahead. You can also add salt or pepper if you would like it to taste a bit more spicy. Next, place a frying pan over the heat. Most people find it easier and more comfortable to use a front burner, but sometimes the back burner can be used for variety. Then start to stir the egg. Some people use their stirring utensil rhythmically, going either in little circles or just back and forth, again and again. Stir slowly at first, making sure the two parts of the egg come together completely to form one. As the pan starts to get more and more hot, start stirring faster, making sure not to burn the egg. When it looks like you're on the way and it's just the way that you actually want it, take it off the heat, let it cool down a little, and enjoy your meal because it is ready to eat. How to scramble an egg. This is how you scramble an egg. I'm sorry, I don't know why I pulled that out. And just because of that, and I'm getting that tingly feeling, please give it up for Joffrey Stewart. Joffrey, get it up, everyone, love! He's probably like, why the hell did she say that before?
I'll do two. This first one I did for the Valentine's night at Weeds. Title's in the interrogative. Did the Virgin Mary have an orgasm? Herb O'Brien could say that he knew what a woman's orgasm was like. A man can know a woman's orgasm, but not a woman a man's. But that's not the point. As Herb, minor famed, for helping drive parking meters out of North Dakota, got on in years, he began spanking his girlfriends. got him into the VA hospital down in Illinois, where he was strapped to a turnstile, shot up with lithium-3, and rotated from shrink to shrink, male and female. As the therapy turned, he spoke that he knew what a woman's orgasm was like and could draw them a graph. Unstrapped, he did. And the female shrinks testified that he knew what he was talking about. They must not have been virgins. He thinks he may have caught his mother in adultery, but again, that's beyond the scope of this poetry. Now with this one, I want to make it clear that I'm not Richard J. Daley, and don't want to be blamed for anything he might have said. That's the title is again in the interrogative. Where is David Duke? The half moon has barely risen into my lower window frame, as comes the thought, capital. As capital Rothschildishly diversifies its hegemony with post-menopausal femininity, I am left to my sociological imagination largely trying to figure, from clueless news reports, what imprint a former Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, having failed to win governorship of Louisiana, has on the aggressive cop bashers in Kiev, until a whiff of grape shot makes a funeral quiet for 97. With the camera eye of RT, I can see that alleged black man in a White House grossly biased, not against but for the cop bashers called peaceful protesters, in some way influenced by David Duke. Where is David Duke? Where are the Nazis with David Duke? Wherever he is. The president, looking like a fool, need not see what I see. If all he sees is the CIA morning report he faithfully attends to. How else can I make excuse for him? I have no line to put in rhyme that a lie he makes his capital crime. Leave it to those Jimmy Carter calls racist. But my sociological imagination is better informed than the reporter, eyewitnessing no Dukish or other Western foreign intervention at mob level, other than a nice lady from Belgium serving tea and crumpet. Like the honest reporter, I did not see one CIA agent out of 6 where I was one of the unsuspecting 5 for Balboa, Michigan, Wednesday, 28 August 1968. The CIA won, victimizing both cops and demonstrators, bringing out the Jew hatred of honorable mayor in amphitheater. You son of a bitch! You motherfucker, you motherfucker, you motherfucker! You lousy motherfucker, go home! Unquote, the Honorable Mayor. All that to put the ruling class face of Henry Kissinger in Republican place for Secretary of State, regardless how dumb votes were counted, for 7 more years of dopey bankster war. And without the debunking wit of Barbara Honegger, how would I know that 450 billion CIA dollars were used to sabotage the Soviet Union into a quasi-loyal opposition, nuclearly ready with 3 aimed for Chicago. CIA boots on the ground in Syria, hidden in the mud of media, massaging consciousness like a sleeping pill. The half moon is out of the upper frame now and out of sight. And I know it's useless to turn on the NPR for response to title.
Thank you. I was doing computer stuff, I couldn't apply loudly enough. Hello, thank you.
So he says to me, you poisoned me with lithium-3. And I'm like, well, I've been writing periodic table poems, but I'm surely not going to read something about lithium because it's a lame piece and I've read it before. But what I did, this is what I did on New Year's Eve. I wrote things.
Lithium-3 is unstable.
But I didn't write anything about lithium-3. I actually wrote about dilithium. Because everybody wants to talk, and this is what I did on New Year's Eve. And so I wanted to share this with you, because I just read it with people, and this thing just went black. There we go. This is dilithium. It's Christmas Eve, and the Science Fiction Channel has a Star Trek movie marathon on. Yeah, I watched some of Star Trek Nemesis, and I heard once again there talks about dilithium, an extremely hard crystalline mineral. You see, they use dilithium crystals to stop reactions with antimatters. So they use dilithium crystals and dilithium shields. And yeah, maybe it was Star Trek, but think about it. In Star Trek, streams of matter and antimatter are directed into dilithium to heat up the excess deuterium gas, giving them a plasma that actually powers their warp drives. Kind of cool if that worked in the real world. But think about what is cool about Star Trek. They use names of places on planets in the solar system like Utopia Planitia near Mars's North Pole. When describing the creation of the Enterprise D, they'll take a common molecule formed in the creation of the universe and use it in their reactions that seem impossible to us scientists in the real world to pull off seemingly impossible feats in the science fiction. So I had to check it out. I knew a thing or two about lithium, but is dilithium actually real? Well, yeah, everyone, it is. And dilithium is Li2, meaning that 2 dilithium atoms bonded together. And that lowercase I in there means that it's in gas form. But the cool thing, scientifically, is that since dilithium is number 3 in the periodic table, that means dilithium is the highest stable neutral homonuclear diatomic molecule after the H2 atom deuterium, which was made along with hydrogen in the initial minutes after the Big Bang. Because in the scientific world, they find a ton of value in the study of this molecule, probably much in the same way that they need it so desperately in Star Trek to pull off warp drive. And you may think I'm kidding, but researchers are working on a fusion impulse engine that runs on real dilithium crystals to cut the travel time to Mars from 6 months to just 6 weeks. The fusion fuel they're focusing on combines dilithium and deuterium. Is this sounding familiar? Because the one thing that I've noticed is that scientists often reflect on their science fiction loves. They try to emulate those stories and recreate what their iconic writers and directors first envisioned. So when you look at all the technology from the science gadgets we have around us today, you can thank the scientists and the engineers. But sometimes you can also thank the writers who planted the seeds of what we have today in the heads of the scientific world. Because maybe we can't beam anyone up and molecularly disassemble ourselves and reassemble ourselves somewhere else, but maybe the original Star Trek communicator was a prelude to the cell phone. And maybe science fiction's thoughts on dilithium crystals forming warp drives can lead us into deep space ourselves. Because really, we'd all love dilithium if it will help us embrace our race into space, the final frontier. Thank you. As goofy as it was, I had to pull that one off. I'm like, that's not going to be a feature. I've got to dilithium. We'll talk about lithium. Now, a man who couldn't make it to the reading because it was, only 100 miles from him. He thought he could make it, but then he's like, wait, no, I've got to go to Kankakee. Please give it up for Len. My darling Len, get out here. Give it up. Woo!
I should get a reception like that when I come home. I don't know.
So should I.
If Doctor Who can have a transmat beam, why can't we
I guess that's what
beam ourselves up? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. You all were talking about music over my shoulder back before we started, and just coincidentally, this was the first thing that I had on top of my list to read. Don't play B-17. I think it was Camus who said the afterlife remains as long as someone speaks of us. I could be wrong. It might have been some other rock of thought in which my memory flounders. Meanwhile, Sarah tells me Weezer has reformed. Unlike Billy Pilgrim, I must be stuck in time. I didn't even know they'd formed to start with. True story, true story. On my playlist, Travers follows Klein, Ravel, and Gershwin. And my guess is they'll still perform on Astral Worldsters as long as someone sings them in the shower, or finds them in the thrift store markdown bin and smiles through the surprise. Nothing really fades away. Someone, somewhere, will regret. Like an old heartthrob that comes back in the dark, classic is the sound we're looking for. We were sitting at a staff meeting when I was running the Border store in Hyde Park, and my music person said, ooh, Weezer has reformed. And seriously, I had never heard of them.
I want you to know this. I want you to know we cover songs, and the next song we want to cover is Buddy Holly by Weezer.
Ooh, all right.
So, just so you know, they do exist. It
Oh,
is,
I know they exist.
whether or not they came back or anything.
Yeah. Okay, sucker bet. I'll always remember, you say. I'll never forget, you promise. You think so? Care to make a little wager? 10 years from now, you won't recall why we parted. Come 20, and you can't envision me deep inside you, in your heart. And in the next 5 heartbeats, you'll start to forget this final kiss. And the last one. Waking this morning, I realized someone snuck in under the night during my dreams of love lost and kept. They grafted an old man's hands onto my wrists. The skin I see is wrinkled, spotted, tears easily. Totally unlike what I dozed off wearing. I see through the deception, of course. Not even I could age so fast without knowing it happening, feeling the inevitability. And they tried to be so clever, switching my well-worn wedding band from young hands to old.
Oh. Yay! Yeah, I want to get applause because I'm an idiot. Because I'm holding stuff.
Even idiots can fall.
Yeah, but I had crap in my
Hands, so I couldn't I couldn't pull it off. I'm like, I have stuff. I had talked to a few of you. In June, I am featuring and I'm going to be releasing books, and one of them is going to be called 100 Haikus. And so I've been working on haikus, and I have some that I don't think are worth it, and they're not going to go in. I did this last time I was here. I had 4 of them, and 2 of them people liked, and they're going to go in. So I would like to know your opinions on these 5, because they're short, because I can do that, because they're short. And I guess by applause concept or whatever. I have no idea. 575. I don't think they're all. All right, I'm going to. Well, I'll go for the. I'll go for Mr. first. This is the first one I got in here. Is this Mr.? Mr. President, there are schools that have books banned. And he thought, oh no. That was Mr. I know. But that's why I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do 2 or here. Oh, well, I'm going to do 5, but they're short. This is labor. Yeah, they're all supposed to make you think. That's not the point. I know. Labor. With child labor, does that mean that someone has to die for my own comfort? And then this is Barry. The right to bear arms doesn't mean you should shoot someone for $20 cash. I'm going to end on the happy one just because it's funnier. This one is called End. And I'm going to have to get an opinion on everyone at the end. This is called End. A small child fears death. They hide science books on sun and Earth's future end. I mean, think about that, being afraid of death and the concept of death, and you hear about the science book, and I'm going to hide that, and that's going to be my way of avoiding death. Really? Sorry, but that's probably not what you thought. This last one, clogged. Want to tell people after leaving clogged bathrooms, I didn't do that. I'm sorry, they're just funny. So I guess I should get opinions from anyway. If anybody think any of those are worth it, I don't think they are. But in the meantime, I'm going to give somebody give a call out for somebody who is worth it. Please, for somebody who just got another poem accepted into the in the June 2012 Children, Churches, and Daddies. We're looking for poems on children, churches, and daddies. Even though they're filled, I'm like, I'm going to find a way to cram this little one of yours in there because that's awesome. Please give it up for Mr. Jerry Pendergast.
Did you just say 2012?
Did I say 2012?
Yeah.
2014. What year am I in?
I think Janet was kind of taken aback that I actually managed to finish a poem in 1 page. I think the shock,
usually in 2 or 3.
the shock value.
What? Who's the guy? Who's the girl?
Got her attention. Okay, it still is Black History Month, and next month is March, which is unofficially Mick Month. This is called Chicago Street Names, Historical Names, and the Black and Green Connection. Monroe, 5th President of the United States, hosted dinner, lunch, and sometimes breakfast seminars for rich white guys, wrote up a doctrine, still used as an excuse to call Latin America and all Caribbean islands our backyard. Also, a street in Chicago running east and west. 2300 block the scene of an assassination in 1969. One man age 22, another 21. Clark, a street in Chicago that was once a shoreline, later a Potawatomi trail, primarily a commercial street. Mark Clark, assassinated with Fred Hampton, officers in the Black Panther Party, Illinois. Helped some gangs negotiate a truce, ran a breakfast program for hungry kids. Assessed as a threat to our nation from an FBI office. Tom Clark planned the Easter Rising with Padre Pierce in Dublin in 1916, captured and killed by the British Army. Hugh O'Neill, Earl of Tyrone, Irish chieftain, led uprising against British rule in Ireland. William O'Neill, FBI informant, laced Fred Hampton's dinner drink with barbiturates on the night of the assassination. Hampton Court, street running 3 blocks north and south, close to Lincoln Park, has new luxury apartments on its 2700 block. Edward Hanrahan, Illinois State's attorney, led raid that killed Hampton and Clark. No street is named after him. Thank God. Okay, this is called...
That's right, because Hampton is spelled D-E-N on Lakeview.
Yeah, that's true, but I still figured I'd...
Right.
Well, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'll try it. Well, let's...
No, that was just for the record.
All right, you're right. Okay, this is called Nightclub Scene Mid-1950s. Some walked in from the train station. Some walked in from home. Some walked in 10 steps from a limousine. Neighbor told neighbor across lawns. Spades trump at this club. First solo, live but mellow. Alto sax, ceiling lamp reflecting on jeweled hands. Iced cocktails at the Slumming Tonight table. Someone mentioned a lynching a few tables away from them. Someone's cousin, or was it a nephew? Piano opens the next bar. Trumpeter comes center, registering at a low pitch. Harnessed intensity, back turned, occasional soft screech, quick fade. Drum and tenor sax attacks the earwax. Trumpeter's pitch, a slow climb. A face at the Slumming Tonight table, half smiles, half frowns, glances at a cufflink. Trumpeter's solo bounces off the wall, surrounds the audience. A limousine pulls up outside. No subway ride for any hide at the Slumming Tonight table. This is called Thoughts on Doma and Domes.
Which was just accepted in the...
Yes.
Might as well talk about it.
It will be in the coming of age issue of children, churches, and daddies.
In a book called Idols.
Right, idols. And now
Idols.
we've got all 3 of them in this, and it's a poem I actually managed to write in 1 page. I mean, even half a page. Do Ma and Pa need an act of Congress to stay together? Will the act steer the children straight? Or will alien thoughts, temptations, leak through skulls like water through church domes, Capitol domes? Dom and Nate hold signs saying, "One man, one woman." Trixie walks by, asks, "Who the man? Who the woman?"
Thank you. I thought that was funny. Because if you're going to talk about the idea of children, churches, and daddies, and it's like, what? What is little kids are going to see that? Who's the one for it? That was previously published somewhere else, but we accept that stuff at CCD. That's how we roll. And I'm going to go to the page because it didn't. I was just going to. I hate Windows, John. I do. I hate it. I was just going to do this one. I don't know why.
I get it. Okay. I didn't get the same.
This is why I love Windows. And he just worked his ass off to make it so it was visible somewhere. Yeah, that'll work. No, it's not. It keeps changing pages. Now I've got 3 copies of something. Screw it. I'm not going to do it. Please, ladies and gentlemen, because this thing sucks. I'm not reading crap. Please, ladies and gentlemen, this man has done more publishing crap over the years than most anybody I know in the poetry scene. Please give it up for Mr. Dave Gecic. Go on up for Dave.
It's cold out there.
No kidding.
Cheers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's colder where you guys live.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to read a John Dixon. I don't think anybody here heard me read it before. It's one of Tom Roby's favorites. It's called Layover.
You should be saving it for Tom Roby in 2 weeks.
Tom Roby in 2 weeks, and then Janine and...
Yeah!
Always.
Janine's in 4, man. Woo.
Those guys are like connected at the hip now for some reason.
Wouldn't you think? Yes.
It's called Layover. Someone in Knoxville looks like me. Nothing phenomenal after all. How many versions of a face can there be? Like snowflakes perhaps, but even so, who can say there are no two alike? Who has photographed every snowflake or every human face? 3 times I've taken the southbound bus, always different but always the same. It reaches Knoxville around midnight, weaves through streets of slumbering houses, veers through poorly lighted alleys, then rests dark and dormant till 6 in the morning, while I wait in the waiting room, wait in limbo, until just before the sun comes up. Each time as I wait there, part of the bench, someone jolts me alive, always calling me Bob. Bob, where have you been? Just yesterday we were talking about you. How's your daddy since Martha died? Who was this first one, this creaky old man with the stiff octogenarian joints? And who was Martha? Who was Bob? I gave him a smile of recalling old times and drifted back into my foggy condition. A year or 2 later it happened again. A youngish woman sat next to me saying, "Oh, Bob, we missed you tonight. What a wonderful party. You should have come. Did you stay away because of Ruth? Was that the reason? Was it? Forget her, Bob. She isn't worth it." Who was this woman? And who was Ruth? I told her I hadn't seen much of Ruth. "Don't lie to me, Bob. You are as thick as thieves. And don't talk like a stupid Yankee." He walked off and boarded the Crossville bus. A few months ago, it was 2 men, authority figures in business suits. One woke me with a nudge in the shins. "What are you up to this time, Bob? Loitering in this deserted station. If you value your job, get back to work on time. No more of this nonsense from now on." If I ever get tired of being me, I may go to Knoxville and start being Bob. Do a few good deeds to patch up his image.
Yeah, Bob.
Or talk with a drawl and look up Ruth. Or if it turns out he's died by then, I'll be Bob, freshly returned from the grave, and maybe set off a whole new era. After all, what's life without some sort of mission? That was John Dixon. Elizabeth, at the Chicago Poetry Festival this year, at the library, we're going to have a Puddinhead Hour. Will you come and read? Okay, I'll sign you up. That's the last Saturday in April for Poetry Month. And the first Saturday in April, I'm featured in Rockford at the Rockford Arts Walk. But this is a piece by Johnny Mazulowicz. It's a short story, and I think it's short enough to read without boring the hell out of everybody. It's called Seventh Inning Stretch. Nothing out of the ordinary about this sunny Sunday afternoon. Cold hams in the fridge, Sunday paper on the coffee table, fresh batteries in the remotes, and the Chicago Cubs game beaming from my 27-inch Zenith console. The sharp crack of wood and the screams of the crowd has always been part of the game at Wrigley Field, but so much more today. For as the bleachers were full and the sky was clear and the fans were packed on the rooftops surrounding the ballpark. For as Harry Carey drank his 8th bud and the grounds crew prayed for rain and the 7th inning stretch was in full swing, Sammy Sosa stepped back in the batter's box, war club in hand. And on the 3-2 pitch, with 2 men on, he got a high fastball and swung it for the street, and the air echoed with the sharp crack of wood, and the crowd screamed. All the nearsighted people who couldn't see the ball thought that he had whacked it a mile. All the drunk people who couldn't see period thought he had whacked it 2 miles. The catcher fingered the strikeout ball in his mitt, and Sosa began trotting back to the dugouts, and the crowd murmured in confusion, until Harry Carey, who had an unobstructed view of the entire area from the broadcast booth, shouted, "Holy shit!" For the sharp crack of wood was the actual crack of wood, and the screams of the crowd were the screams of 35 people who had crashed through the collapsing rooftop of the house on Waveland Avenue directly down the third baseline.
Oh my God.
Maybe the kegs they had up there were just too heavy, or maybe there were just too many people and those homemade bleachers put up by the building owner could not have helped much. In the few seconds before WGN director Ann Harris decided that it was important taste to keep the cameras on the building, the skytop scoreboard camera, which could look directly down into the violent wreck, broadcast a terrifying scene of destruction. The interior of the building looked like some shoddy CHA rehab work in process, or some huge brick blender filled with the margarita of wood beams and plaster and housewares and beer like bad housekeeping, misplaced walls and misplaced furniture and blood like a bad paint job and glass and a large kitchen appliance and bodies. Harry Carey, just for the broadcast journalistic effects, proclaimed, "Oh, the humanity!" And Arnie Harris put on those rain delay World Series highlights before Harry could say anything else. Almost immediately, the game was called on account of this incident, but by this time the crowd had already begun to rush out of the friendly confines and gather around the site, complicating rescue efforts. If I remember correctly, didn't zoning laws insist that the infrastructure of these buildings be reconstructed and reinforced to support the additional weight of the fans? Or maybe it was just the municipal citations given to the building owners who were charging money for people to sit on their roofs. The roof collapsed onto the 3rd floor apartment on top of a man and his wife who were watching the game inside on TV because they were too sunburned for being on the roof the day before. The 3rd floor collapsed onto the 2nd floor, vacant at the time except for a young male who worked nights and who was awakened and subsequently killed by the falling body of a rooftop reveler. Another reveler fell only 11 feet onto a supporting beam, but was impaled on and killed by the vodka bottle he had hidden in his coat. The 2 kegs on the roof fell 3 floors to the bathtub of an old lady and her 3 cats who had all lived there for over 40 years and has always hated baseball. The National League Commission had always looked down on the rooftop revelers who they felt were wrong in getting a free show. The firemen from the firehouse next door could do nothing for those already dead, but discovered that there were many, many dead. Through a dense crowd of dust and dirt, the firemen dragged the broken bodies, some still moving, from all windows, all doors, all gaping holes punched through the thick brick walls. And when one severely distended body slipped from its body bag while being carried down the ladder, some drunk jagoff shouted, "7th inning stretch!" After about 3 hours, a time period which featured 2 more collapsing walls and a natural gas explosion that resembled the home run fireworks at Comiskey Park, the last victim was finally removed. One of the old lady's cats that had been sleeping in the bathtub when the kegs fell through. The bent and broken bodies of the rooftop revelers succeeded in the prying eyes of the spectators in redefining the word free show. And on a sunny Sunday afternoon in the 7th inning, on a 3-2 pitch, 27 people were violently killed. And the occasional shithead in the crowd picked up a brick or a jettisoned appliance as a ghoulish souvenir. And the police commissioner decided to ban spectators from the rooftops. And Harry Carey drank 5 extra beers. And the firemen got no sleep. And the only old lady could only find 2 of her cats. And some sports bar yuppie asshole started calling Sammy Sosa the house wrecker. And for one day, none of the neighborhood residents worried about fans littering or pissing on their lawns or parking in their spots. And I turned off the television. And the newspaper headline the next day read, "At Wrigley Field, a tragedy of broken bones and broken zoning laws." That was by Johnny Mazurek. I don't think it happened.
But it was awesome.
Yeah. One more John Dixon. This is called Poemectomy. The trouble was, they left her too much alone, feeding on books and dreaming of love, and watching willow tree shadows sway across the polluted river. Instead of running about and laughing and talking of nothing with the other girls, she grew wistful and wan and dangerously thin. And after hours on pondering such things as frost on a window, or the frail filament fingers of an old man on a bus, she would look weaker than ever, and complain of a terrible pain in her chest. Until one night when they rushed her to the hospital, and working over her for hours in emergency, removing a huge tumorous verse. A verse so horrible that even the nurses grew sick when they saw it. For days afterwards, she was draining words where the stitches were. And then, only a few letters now and then, until finally the wound had completely healed. But there's still a large scar where they made the incision. And every now and then when she sees things, like a bird on a twig, or the shadow of leaves on the sand, or a butterfly wing washed up on the shore, the scar turns pink or a livid red, and you almost wonder if they succeeded in getting out all the infection. By John Dixon.
Thank you, Janet.
You are triple plus awesome, you have no idea. And so you're like, every single time I'm like, I can't applaud us, I'm running up because I'm
Doing something or doing something crazy. And one of the things I'm doing that is crazy is touting for a phenomenal, and I'm not the only one that said that today, a phenomenal feature from Elizabeth Marino that's going to be on tonight. Which is why I still carry this really raggedy, crappy old bag, but it's purple, and I never wear purple, so you can tell it apart from me, I guess. So I want you to put your life savings. Oh, what do I have in my pocket? I want you to put your life savings into this thing, and I'm gonna pass this over to John, I think. I'm gonna pass it over to Bob, and you'll pass it over to John. We'll figure out. Everybody's gotta put everything you can, and I can't throw because I'm
A girl.
a girl. I'm also retarded or something. I don't know. Because there are girls who can't throw, and I use my book, Under the Sea, the photo book, as a bookmark for this issue of Down in the Dirt. The brand new issues are out because I need to be able to share this. Down in the Dirt, you've all have heard it, or at least some of you have. This rhyming poem of mine I wrote when I was 9 or whatever. I put it into a photo book, and it's a little fun thing to have on a cocktail table. I'd like to be under the sea, and it's got tons and tons of photos, and this thing's for like, I don't know, $10, 10 or something. It's online or whatever. And it's small and it's handy. And it's going to be something that's drawn by a couple of people over the years as well, which is really cool. They'll have a little boy or a little girl under the sea. But I didn't feel like using a bookmark, so that's small enough. I'll use that. And before I call up for any second rounders, and Bob's like, I'm passing the money along because our feature deserves it. Yes. The new issues of CC&D and Down in the Dirt are out. And in the beginning of February, they were just released. I don't have an issue with CC&D with me, but I have Down in the Dirt. I pull the strings, and it happens to have artwork on the cover by John Yatko of a really cool looking light bulb. And I thought I would read something from this before I do a second round call. And the first person I'm going to assault to come on up here would be Joffrey, or maybe, I don't know if Bobster wants to come up, or Len wants to come up.
Yeah, I haven't read it.
I don't know if Bob read it all yet.
What?
I haven't read it yet.
Oh my God! Well, then you're gonna come. All right, I'm gonna read this one, and you're coming up, my love.
Okay.
You better read a lot, Mr. Man. But anyway, well, you know what am I gonna say? So I'm gonna do this one little one. This is called "Vegetarian Stands by the Meat Sale." It's raining out, and no one wants to be outside. And if they do, come here. They just want to get the bare essentials and get home as quickly as they can. They surely don't want to be confronted and have to contend with me trying to sell my wares. A huge clock looms at the opposite wall. I keep glancing up at the time and think of the huge calendar looking over New York and Atlas Shrug as everyone is reduced to merely trudging through their days. Someone just wished me good luck, because I think everyone would rather be sleeping than here. And it is true. I just glanced at that clock again. I'm only 1/8 the way through my day. And this woman who has chosen to not have children has to keep smiling despite the weather and fawn over every passing child I see. This vegetarian stands next to the sign saying, "Hot ham" in the deli sale for today. An employee plate baked and fried chicken in packages for sale behind me. I try to smile because it's my job, even though it's raining outside, and the second hand on that clock clicks more slowly today. He says he's only got 3. Maybe he'll make it 6 or 12 or 14 or 18 because we heard him. Please give it up for the monster himself, Mr. Bob Rashkow. Come on up and let him And I feel better when I see you in 2 weeks either, my darling. So you should be.
Or possibly 4. I'll give you the
Well,
details
I-
later.
You know, I don't want you to be away from here, but good luck. And I said that before.
It's just on Wednesday nights.
No, I know. I'm like, I don't want you to be away from here, but good luck.
I hate missing both Tom and Janine.
Oh,
But John Dixon is a very hard act to follow, as is Janet.
oh
But
no.
I guess I will anyway.
You're awesome.
Okay, first one is Tony Sabella's poem about his friendship with Stuart Perkoff. It actually is untitled. I look at Stuart, I say, are we a myth? As about a mile, he says, eternal toiler in the fields of shit. We spread it, we kick it, we eat it. We mix in our beliefs and spread it over our bodies, hoping the stench will keep away any human contact, the stuff that closeness needs. I expect any bodies that been together for a while fall into a semi-coma and stay, and if nothing extraordinary happens, waking up somewhere down the line, wondering what happened to life and the promise of love. And we were promised love and happiness that we were to attain, but no body explained how. I see a vast space crowded with naked people milling blindly, crashing into each other, bouncing off, crashing into, and when two fall into a pile, they are lashed together at the ankle and thrown into hell. I can see a day, I pray, that I may understand how such beginnings can make a love to last a lifetime. The next two are by me. The devoted, designated, dutiful daughter, the princess of polish, the goddess of the green pleasure machine. She multiplies by 3, feeding daddy so he will eat, straining to hear Jerry Springer's guests and all their lamentations and leering to the camera, and preening for hours in her bathroom so she can walk outside for 5 minutes. The wistful social service special ed daughter, she has a devoted, sensible, sweet, hardworking, addicted to neatness husband. She has daddy's shelter above her head. She rules the roost where once her regal mother reigned. But if she can't have her cake whole, fresh, perfect, if she can't have the millions tossing flowers and candy at her feet, the dark goddess takes over, and she is perpetually, undoubtedly, woefully miserable. And this was my memorial poem for Matthew Scott Barton, who ended his life in April of 2012. It's called Left. Matt has gone downstairs, descended into his haunted basement, legal papers tossed into the unfeeling wind. He is one now with his demons, the rattling menagerie, the agony no longer buried in a place where no one can find it. He has rearranged the furniture to accommodate the mist of nirvana. No longer fingers reaching into regret-laced silence, no longer reaching for the perfect words that might conceal sticky anxieties, no longer afraid to take those hesitant, creaking steps into the challenge of his lifeline, into the unveiling of the lawyer's mask, the lover's mask, the poet's mask, the Superman costume, the quiet, painful endurance of horrid home recollection. He is listening to our words, hearing a piano concerto, hearing the voices calling to him, wondering out loud where he's gone. Matt isn't gone, though. He's just gone downstairs to meet the tiger face to face and shed his armaments forever. But Matt, you forgot your bag of tricks. You didn't bring it down with you. You've left it up here, or rather down here. And it continues to share its brilliance, its magic, the gift of gab that gave you to us. Love, Bob Stern. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This, I think I'm standing right in front of the camera, this is my call for second rounders because I really would like to hear Elizabeth Marino longer. But I'm going to give a chance for other people out here, and I'm going to do it in, I won't say alpha mode, but in a time mode order. Would anybody like to come up for another poem? And the first one is of Joffrey. Would you like to come up here, my darling? Give it up for Joffrey Stewart. Give it up from Whitmore. Woo! Oh, that's Glenn. Well, let's see everybody. We have to check on time because I want to make sure we've got time.
To do this. Frosty the Snow. Oh, Frosty the Snowman brings cocaine every day. Sometimes meth and heroin. He is the CIA. Addiction to profits. Slavery pays for war. It always has, with taxes paid to disguise the aggressor. Our friends are grabbed with overdose. Jim Thompson's China White. Slavery's a ghetto's plight. Misery's a global blight. Frosty the Snowman loads Mexico with guns for homicide and bankster gain. It's New World Order fun.
There's a speaker in the way. Second. Alrighty.
Thank you very much. I will ask Lem if he's like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm so ready. So please, this man, he almost beats me in the travel time for getting up here. So give it up for Lem. Come on up here, Len. Woo! I can't believe what you're like. Yeah, I'll make it to Kenosha. I'm like, no, you won't. That's so far. That's awesome. But the gesture was awesome. You had to go to Kankakee. That was the other thing.
The middle of March, most of the city. I'm driving to Cleveland for a 10-minute spot.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You are.
They're doing an 11-hour poetry reading.
And you're doing one of those.
60 features.
That's insane. And you're driving to Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's 5 hours.
Great. Well, yeah, you're right.
But I get to stop and see my grandson in college.
Aw, very awesome.
I can use that as an excuse.
Give it up for Len.
Yeah. Okay, keep this short since we have a chit chat going on until time. Salvation is a concrete noun. On a dirty gray mid-March morning, with LA all around my vision, rising in its sprawl down to the sea, I saw the horsemen in my mirror. Saw 4 horsemen come with terror, cursing and fuming, gesticulating, stuck in the nowhere-going traffic backed up on the 405.
Oh, buddy, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome.
It's crazy that there's a speaker here. I can't walk up as
Swiftly and as quickly as possible. I think my last open mic probably is Jerry Pendergast. Jerry, do you have something?
I have another one pager.
Yeah, I got another one page. Give it up for Jerry Pendergast. That's a new addition.
This was written by a much younger man. It's called Lovers and Opponents. You demand I tell you what I'll do in the next 10 years after graduation, giving me advice through your nose. You say, I'd like to go to the Empire Room after the senior prom next year. I'm thinking, what the hell gives you the idea I want to go to the prom? But I just keep chewing on a sandwich. You say, Bernard's your competition, if that matters. I say no, in my poker voice. You say, you haven't said much this evening. You're angry with me, right? I take a sip of water, stare straight ahead, like a bass player in a 60s British rock combo. At the bus stop, I watch the wind roll a beer can down the sidewalk and a metal store sign swing like a gymnast. A voice from the cracks of the concrete says, woke mix, won't mix. Won't mix.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.
I moved the speaker. There's no cables in the way, but I think we wanted to get around that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you've got 5. Count them 5 minutes before a phenomenal feature from Elizabeth Marino.